Victor Newman is one of the most popular male characters on the Young and the Restless. Over the years, he has had many wives and lovers. Today, we review many of his romantic pairings. Julia Newman. Victor and his wife Julia arrived in town, with Victor helping Catherine Chancellor with Chancellor Industries. They drifted apart soon after arriving in town though, as they both fell in love with other people, and ended up divorcing soon after. Lorie Brooks. Victor took over the Prentice family company, so Lorie and her family schemed to get the company back by her marrying Victor. Victor fell deeply for Lorie. On their wedding day, Victor signed over the company back to the family, and Lorie then stood him up at the altar, saying that she had already received everything from him that she wanted. Eve Howard. Eve was initially Victor's assistant. They ended up sleeping together, and eventually grew into a relationship and planned to marry, but never did. Eve had a child and claimed her son to be Victor's. Eventually, Eve stole from Victor and later even tried to kill him for his money, but was unsuccessful. Nikki Reed. Victor and Nikki's on and off again relationship has been remarkable, with many ups and downs. After a whirlwind courtship, they married, had 2 children, but broke up, and even married others multiple times, but seemed to always be drawn back to each other eventually, and have remarried several times. Ashley Abbott. Another great love of Victor's life was Ashley. She and Victor fell in love while he was still married to Nikki. When Victor was led to believe that Nikki was terminally ill, he left Ashley to return to Nikki. Ashley discovered she was pregnant and decided to have an abortion. This infuriated Victor, and the stress of the conflict caused Ashley to have a mental breakdown. They eventually had a daughter together. Over the years, they grew closer again and married and divorced each other twice. These days, they remain on friendly terms. Leanna Love. Victor fell for Leanna, but she was working on a book the entire time to expose him as a ruthless businessman, airing all his dirty laundry. They were married briefly, but Nikki discovered that their marriage was invalid due to Nikki and Victor's divorce not being valid. Victor eventually discovered her true colors, and they went their separate ways. Hope Adams. Hope was another great love of Victor's life. They met on a farm when Victor had left Genoa City, leaving his family to believe he had died. They fell in love, and when Victor returned to Genoa City, he brought Hope back with him and married her. They had a son together, but eventually grew apart and divorced. Jill Foster. Victor and Jill had a very brief affair. Jill thought that it was a serious relationship and fully expected that Victor was going to propose to her, but he informed her that this wasn't a long-term relationship, only a short-term affair, which devastated Jill. Sabrina Castellana. Sabrina was a friend of Victoria who came to town. She and Victor fell in love and were married. They were expecting a baby together, but tragically, their romance was cut short when Sabrina was killed in a car accident. Diane Jenkins. Victor fell for Diane while trying to make his romantic rival and Diane's ex Jack jealous. Eventually, they married, but when Nikki was injured and almost died, Victor asked Diane if they can divorce so that he could marry Nikki on her deathbed, and that they can remarry afterwards. When Nikki recovered, Victor decided he wanted to remain married to Nikki and ended his relationship with Diane. They would end up remarrying and divorcing again years later. Sharon Collins. Sharon was Victor's daughter-in-law for many years, and they always had a fond father-daughter-like relationship. When Victor was arrested for a crime, he initially married Sharon so that she could look after his assets while he was in prison, due to his deep trust for her. Eventually, their relationship turned romantic, and they ended up marrying twice. But eventually, due to many extenuating circumstances, they eventually divorced, and their friendship never fully recovered. Maggie McLean. Theirs was a super brief relationship. Maggie was a schemer and planned to drug, marry, and then kill Victor for his money. Victor figured out her agenda and planned a fake wedding to turn the tables on her, and she was arrested. Genevieve Atkinson. Victor and Genevieve had a romantic evening together and had a one-night stand, but it was all under the pretext of business, as Victor wanted to buy back Beauty of Nature from Genevieve, which he did. But he was not interested in a real relationship with her. Victor has had many loves over the years, but it seems that his Victor and Nikki are and have always been endgame as a couple. Thanks for watching.